Next to me is Tong Tan, who I know needs no introduction. He's the CEO of StarHub, and I think the fittest and the fastest man in the room over 42 kilometres. No challenge, Tong Hai. Tong Hai's about to do his sixth marathon, yes, and very comfortable in a compression suit.
No. Well, I do that every year because even though the job may be challenging, you should set a physical goal to keep fit. So you just set the timeline and say every December you do your marathon and work towards it.
He's frightening. I remember at APOS, we had this chat about going for a run together, and then it was Tong Hai's like, we'll leave at 6. I'm like, oh, I think I might have a call at 6. I might be a bit later. But Tong Hai, as you can tell, is passionate about sport, about watching sport, acquiring sports rights, playing, everything to do with sport. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear his perspective on the subject of football. And so let's start with a broad question, Tong Hai. Why, in your opinion, is football king?
Well, if you look at stadiums, right? If you look at currently our Sports Hub Stadium, it's designed to accommodate 55,000 people, right? And you have the indoor stadium, which the World Women's Tennis Association is going to play. That is about maybe 12,000 people. And you've got the OCBC Arena, which you can play the basketball. There's about 3,500. So if you look at from a size perspective, the stadiums are designed, to accommodate that kind of fans, super fans, to watch the game. But I feel that today, the outcome, they always say football is round. The outcome is never predicted. This year was Germany winning. Last World Cup was Spain. And I think that's what makes football exciting, because the results are not predictable, right? Whereas if you find that there are other sports, like now there's also FIBA, right? You got FIFA, you got FIBA, right? You got Federation of International Basketball, and it's now ongoing. And we know the outcome. Who's going to win, right? America, right? Or if you have the next badminton tournament, World Badminton, who will be the winner? Right? China. Table tennis? China. Right? Cricket? Cricket you have between Australia or Pakistan or India. But you'll find that if the sports is being dominated by one particular country, it will never be able to attract a lot of people, to watch it, because the outcome is more or less quite predictable. But football, I always say the ball is round, and even if you hire the best players, like we were talking about Man U, getting Van Gaal to get all the best players, not necessarily you win, right? And I think that is why football still is the king of sports as of now.
But Tong Hai, you provide us with a really uniquely Singapore perspective. So why BPL in Singapore? It's quite amazing, the popularity. I know across Asia, but let's just talk about this market.
Yeah. Actually, prior to BPL, it was actually the Singapore-Malaysia Cup that was the most popular football league in Singapore. But unfortunately, there was a period of time where Malaysia decided that, the Malaysia Football League should be played by the Malaysian states alone, and so Singapore was out, right? And during those periods, actually StarHub was responsible to introduce a lot of the English Premier League, and the attention get diverted into the English football teams. And over the years, you have fans of Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, etc. And interestingly, if you talk to the older generation in Singapore, you realize that a lot of them, by which of the clubs they are aligned to, you know roughly which era, right? Yeah. I guess that was the reason why BPL became very famous or very popular, because from then onwards, the attention get diverted into the English Premier League. And that, I think, if you look at the history, it was actually, prior to that, was local league, right? And now we try to re-establish the Singapore-Malaysia League.
Yeah, there was a bit of discussion in the previous panel about local league environments and how they are a challenge for the growth of football in the region. I suppose developing a local league environment, you know, StarHub has had something to do with that.
I agree with Patrick's view about the local league. Right? If I talk to my Indonesian counterpart in MNC in Indonesia, they would tell me that, look, they are investing a lot in the local league. Same if you tell Astro in Malaysia, they are actually supporting the Malaysia's league also. I do see that there's a lot of opportunity for us, in fact, to promote the local football. And that's where I think 2 years ago, we started the Singapore-Malaysia League again, right, and created the interest in local football. It was not like before, but I think we do see the interest level. So if you look at today, from our viewership stats perspective, local sports is still local football that is highest in rating. Yeah.
I suppose, Tong, just back on BPL, you know, it made headlines around the world in October 2012 when we found out that Singtel had the rights for the next 3 years. I suppose I just have to do my job and ask you, you know, like, what did that mean to your business? I suppose, you know, how did that, with football being king, as we've all admitted, I suppose what was your business's reaction to that moving forward and the investments that then you made?
Well, you always have to assess the amount that you want to pay for the rights, right? And whether it makes sense. And of course, you will have to make certain calls. So for that year, I think there was 2010, right? That year, I think we made a call because the price was simply too high, right? And but we also know that we do have other sports assets, like, you know, we have NBA, we have tennis, we have golf, etc. So we try to position ourselves as really a home of sports, a broad variety of sports. So even though you may not have the Premier League, we were prepared to promote the rest of the other sports. And of course, we also started the local football. You know, we created the Super Sports Arena, which is a local football channel. No, not local football channel, but a local sports channel that covers all the local sports, including if you have the Stanton Marathon, we do cover the event.
And that's where you'll be running the WTA too.
WTA too, yes. WTA.
StarHub has a really interesting sponsorship of that, both the stadium and the tournament.
Yeah.
You might want to.
Yeah. We think that sports, the way you view sports cannot be just on the TV screen alone. We just inked a deal with SportsHub to be the founding and official telco for the next 7 years. And also with Women's Tennis Association for 5 years, you know, to be the official telco partner. We believe that it's a complement of watching it on screen and attending it live. And the way that we're seeing it is that even when you are there, like currently we are working on the second screen. So we will have, let's say you're watching the Women's Tennis Association, we want the screen, we are actually broadcasting it on our Super Sports Arena. So we hope that our customers or subscribers will bring along their tablets, and you can actually watch the match replay, etc. I think that the future is not just be able to watch the match replay. The statistics are very, very important. Right? So we think that the stats will be key for you to enjoy the match prior, and then the live real-time stats as to how the team or how the players are performing, right? Because you may have a good track record, but then on the actual day, your performance may not be up to mark, right? So the live stats is going to be very important. And I think that the ability to watch it from different angles, you may take a seat in a sports hub at this corner, but you can watch it you know, with cameras from different corners. So I believe that that will further enhance the overall viewing experience. And it is not just watching, because you also want to chat with your friends who may be seated across, both watching the same match, right? You know, so you will have the ability to use social media. I believe that that will be how we're going to consume sports. It's not going to be just on one platform. Actual event, physical event, over your TV screen, and over your second screen.
So that's really going to drive the popularity of a broad range of sports. What other things are going to drive the popularity of sports, do you think, moving forward?
Yeah. I think that a lot of people have the misconception that, hey, if you broadcast sports itself, then there will be less people going to the stadium, right? I think today, one has to ask where are the trade-offs, right? Today, if you understand the consumption behavior, it's not that people are not interested to go to the stadium and watch it live, right? I think today the consumption pattern has changed, right? If I look at my children, they watch the World Cup, they just want to watch the goals. They have no patience to watch the entire match. The youth have no patience. And then when they are there, they want to be able to communicate the social. So the stadium must have very good connectivity. And in most cases in stadium, when you have a congestion of a lot of people at the same place, the connectivity usually is not that great, right? So I think those are some of the challenges from the youth perspective. The young people, they don't just want to watch something; they want to share. I have this discussion about, I'm glad that StarHub is the official broadcaster, for the Women's Tennis Association. But actually, every attendee, every person in watching it will be a broadcaster. Today, you notice when you get to an event, everybody is busy recording. And if I look at the future of communication or recording, you'll be wearing your wearable because it's very tiring to hold this all the time, right? So you may want to wear a wearable that record it, and save. But the future will be everybody actually will be a broadcaster. So while we are happy to be an official broadcaster, but I'll be even happier if everybody is a broadcaster and you share.
And it would naturally drive the popularity. There's been other, I suppose, broadcast improvements as well, which have increased popularity of a broader range of sports, like for cricket, like wicket cam and some of the goal lines. Do you think that sort of the way that it's broadcast, like we all remember when we first watched our first football soccer match in HD, it's an amazing experience. So do you think, as from a broadcaster, like that's going to increase and broaden the popularity of a range of sports?
I think that is, for sports, you have to watch it in HD. Right? And we do see the difference, like, if we have channels with SD, and once you upgrade into HD, the experience is very different. So even in the linear, while we talk about being able to watch in a different platform, there are a lot of innovations still on the linear channel. Of course, people are talking about moving to 4K TV and all those. But just on HD alone, I think you will be able to also enjoy. And we do see, as people upgrade into a HD channel, then they have a better experience, not just watching sports, but also the other channels. So linear channel will continue to be relevant. In fact, the content that matters in our pay TV business is news, live news, and sports. Anything that is live will continue to command a lot of value. Whereas those that it may be movies or reality shows and all those are, in most cases, heavily pirated. And then you will find that the viewership is really not time critical, right? But I do see that sports will continue to command that kind of value from a content perspective.
So Tong Hai, as someone running a platform beyond football, what sports do you see people watching? So,
during the World Cup season, I woke up, the timing was bad for Singapore, the recent World Cup, and I had to wake up, let's say, at 4 a.m. to watch, right? And only recently, 2 weeks ago, I woke up at 4:30 a.m., and that was to watch the tennis match between Nishikori and Silek, right? I do think that when you have an Asian player, right, I see a lot of potential in tennis because Lina, women's tennis, she done well, Asian player. And this year was exceptional for Japan with Nishikori playing. But you can see a 1.78 meter tall guy playing against a 1.98 meter tall Silek, and the serving is so different. One is serving at about 198 kilometers an hour. So that kind of speed versus. But I do see that with the coming of the Women's Tennis Association in Singapore, and playing of course, in Sports Hub, it will help to bring up, So I see a lot of potential in tennis. Nearby in the region, I was last year in Philippines. I watched the opening match between Indiana Pacers and Houston Rockets. And you'll find that over there is basketball. Right? In fact, basketball rights in Philippines is worth more than football rights. So depending on countries, right? In China, the same. I think basketball commands a lot of viewership, both physical attendance as well as from the TV. And you can see it from the rights perspective. So I see that the potential, of course, is basketball. Rugby continue to be, of course, a niche, but because rugby is played in the main stadium, like recently the Rugby 10 was played in Sports Hub. And I think, yes, it's decent. It's about 10,000 old people. The match between Juventus and this Singapore team, I think they have about 27,000 people. So coming soon, there'll be the Brazil-Japan match. That one anticipated at least 40,000, right? Expected 40,000 attendees. So I feel that rugby have its own set of followers and is still played in the main stadium. So in terms of potential, I see tennis, I see rugby, and also, of course, basketball. But if you look at it from a TV viewership rating perspective, it's a little bit interesting. Because football is number 1, tennis number 2. Actually, number 3 was a surprise to me, was boxing. So you have a Manny Pacquiao match that is being screened. The viewership is very good. So you'll find that the viewership sometimes depend on the players. Actually, in this case, it's Manny Pacquiao fighting, right? So I do see the potential beyond, and especially Singapore have invested in the Sports Hub facility, and it will be able to attract world-class team coming to Singapore to play.
I suppose what's also important for the growth of other sports is the sponsorship dollars, which the panel talked about quite a bit this morning, and then people explaining that, with the diverse range of sports across Asia that people are interested in, football's a natural tick because you can cover so many markets. Do you see like that being a challenge for other sports outside of football to attract sponsorship dollars?
Yeah. Even while we talk about football attracting a lot of sponsorship, I still think that even in the local football scene, there's still a lot of room for sponsors to come in. And I believe that that is a matter of kind of like earlier discussion was, will sponsor come in because it's a winning team, right? If you are not a brand like a Man U or Liverpool and all those, even though if you are not winning, the fans will still be there and the sponsor will come in. But in the local football scene, it's very different. Yeah. Right? So you'll find that sponsors actually choose to support winning teams. But not necessarily, like we've been winning in table tennis and all those, but you don't see a lot of big names in the sponsors, right? So in our case, because of the size of the market, and I think there will be more potential now with the Sports Hub, because previously we had a big problem. We don't even have a venue that can house 55,000 people. And that you cannot attract a world-class team, and you cannot attract sponsors. And we think that there's room, of course, to sponsor not just on the outdoor ads. It's on the channel itself and on the other platform. But that has to be developed over time. Currently, a lot of the ad spend are still in the outdoor, or in the, of course, the title sponsors and all this. So there's still a lot of room for improvement in terms of the sponsorship for local sports.
Yeah, so I think we'd all sort of agree that the sports market in Asia is evolving, developing, changing. We're out of time, but Tong Hai, if we were sitting here in 5 years' time, what do you think would be king? What do you think will be the most watched sport?
Actually, it's very interesting, because if you look at the local sporting event, actually the most active sports right now is running. There are 76 runs this year, according to Run Society, ranging from Stanton run, they even have a Hello Kitty run, and a zombie team run called Run for Your Life. Where zombie will catch you, and unless you get into a safe zone, otherwise you'll be getting an infected medal, right? You have all kinds of runs in Singapore. Last year was only 60 runs. This year is 70, right? So you find that actually there's a shift, from like myself. I used to be a avid golfer, but I've shifted to running, right? Running back. You can see cycling also very popular. So people don't just want to watch these days. People want to enjoy. I always use this example, like when I play golf, I can have a lousy round of golf, but I never have a lousy round of running. Every time I run, after the run, I feel good. I never have I felt lousy, that actually I played better and all this. So if you look at sports itself, people are participating more, engaging, rather than just be a spectator. But we talk about World Cup timing. Russia timing would be better for Asian countries. And of course, I still think that football will remain the king of sports, if you ask me, in 2019.
So I think Tong Hai's saying, everyone, that in 5 years' time we'll still be watching football, but we'll be much fitter while we're watching it because we will have all gone for a run or a cycle beforehand. Thank you very much, Tong Hai. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Yeah. And Tong Hai will be around today if you have any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.